All right, welcome back to my Mad Video Lab. I'm your host, Brad Jacobson, and today I have a longtime friend with me, long time in my terms, probably almost 15 years, Chris Brown. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. One of the things we want to do with this show is allow people to come on and speak their mind, speak what's really bothering them. We know there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and we don't mean to jump and miss everything else that's going on in the world. But right now, this is something that we wanted to discuss and kind of get out there. Like I've said, I've known Chris for a while now. I've never seen him get so irritated, aside from like the bikers, but I think even this is more than the bikers. So Chris, why don't you tell me a little about what's got your goat right now? What's got you so angry?
Well, I don't know that I would say that's got me so angry, and I think that I do want to state right from the top that I understand there are more important issues going on in the world right now.
Exactly.
That fact is not lost on me. I get it. And I don't think anyone is trying to suggest that the issues that we've faced lately with beach closures and other associated issues are somehow more important than social justice or those things. Totally agree that some of the things that are going on in the country right now are much more important. But the notion that you can't talk about something else that's stupid is just a silly notion to me, and it's not the least bit persuasive. The argument that, well, there's something really bad going on over here, to me, doesn't mean that we can't make the right decision.
Right, we still can't bring it up and have a conversation about it. This is you playing volleyball here. Obviously, you're a huge volleyball fan. You also you run and operate the CBVA.
Right. And so I've been the president of the CBVA for a long time.
For those who don't know.
Yeah. For people who don't know, that's the California Beach Volleyball Association. It was the first beach volleyball association established in 1962. We've been at it a long time, and it's a grassroots organization, and the AVP and all of the pro leagues sprung up from the CBVA. So I obviously have a unique look at this topic, and I'm constantly bombarded by players, other tournament directors, people from other leagues who want to play volleyball and are asking me, is there any legitimate reason why we're not allowed to play volleyball right now? And, for the longest time, we've tried to go through the proper channels. We've done everything within our power to lobby city government, county government. And, again, there's an element of there are bigger fish to fry right now. Again, I get that. Right. But that doesn't mean that we need to outlaw healthy, safe activities here.
Right.
And the fact
I'm going to jump in really quick, because that's one of the things I'm sure people out there, especially people who aren't close to a beach or close to the beach cities like we are, they've got to be thinking, come on, man, it's just a bunch of guys, girls and guys, and
understand.
They're getting angry because they can't go out and play.
Right, no, and I understand that. And there is an element of privilege. And, I hear from some people like, oh, you just want to go out there and drink beer and surf or whatever.
Right.
And truth be told, there's some element of that.
Sure.
I'm not going to deny that. But there's also a huge element of mental health, spirituality, fitness, and at a time when we really need healthy options and to clear our mental health, the beach closures were just a huge punch in the gut. And, I was one of the first people to speak up. And I was very outspoken, and I started a grassroots organization to lobby on behalf of reopening the beaches. And it was extremely frustrating watching people who were not dealing with facts. It became a very odd political game. The left retreated way over to one corner. The right went way over to another corner.
It really divided. It divided a lot.
It showed the polarization that's there kind of in every walk of life. But you would hope that when this really big problem comes along, you would just look at the facts of the problem and try to make the best decision. I think that we would all agree with that.
Right.
And unfortunately, in my view, that didn't happen. Again, talking about a delicate subject like this, I think we understand that a lot of people are going to disagree. People are going to disagree with what I'm saying right now. I understand that, and I'm fine with it. In fact, I really like having discussions with my friends where we disagree. And I have a lot of really smart friends who disagree with me.
Sure.
And I like the back and forth. And I think that's what makes
I think
our
it's
country,
good. It holds
or
everything
any free society, it's all about the free exchange of ideas. And you come at me with your idea, and I listen to that and mull it over, and then I come back at you with my idea, and the best ideas end up winning. And that's the whole basis of a free society. And there was an element to this where it got a little scary for a while. Like if you were a dissenter and you spoke out, you were really looked down upon.
Right.
And
you're trying to get us all sick.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand there was a lot of fear out there, the fear of contagion, and still, this thing is going to be with us for some period of time, and it's all the lives lost. And you see the video of what's happening in Italy and New York, and you see the potential of what could happen. So I think all of us were basically on board at the start, flatten the curve. They came to me and said, we got to shut down your business. I was on board. I was like, fine. And this might last 2 weeks, a month, whatever. We got to make sure that healthcare systems don't get overwhelmed. That all made sense. But then somewhere along the line, they kept kicking the can down the road, and it went from dealing with the facts to just this weird political football.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of my discontent stemmed from.
One of the things that when you think of volleyball, and I've played volleyball, that's how we met, I believe, it was surfing and volleyball, is that it's really fun because you get to hang out with your friends. So in between games, you guys would sit down, talk to each other about what's going on in your life, etc. So what you're asking for to put the nets back up, because if you're not familiar with LA County took all the nets down. Are you asking for the sport to come back and socialization where you guys can hang out because maybe it's safer outside because you're on the beach, or are you asking for the game to come but everyone stays socially distant 6 feet apart?
Well, I think it just makes sense for everybody to take whatever precautions they can at this time. I think the physical distancing, hand hygiene, don't touch your face, everything that we've all learned now, I think that should all be incorporated in every walk of life. The fact is that with beach volleyball, everything that we've learned now from the science shows that it's taking place outside, which is vastly safer. It's in the sunlight, which is vastly safer. Right. There's everything we find is that those activities like surfing and beach volleyball are basically our safest options. Now, that's not to suggest that you should be stupid and not incorporating all the safety measures that you can. But when you see that tennis is now legal, pickleball is legal, the Lakers are allowed by the county to play basketball inside in a gym in El Segundo, and anyone who plays basketball knows you're leaning on each other, you're pushing against each other, you're inside, out of the sun and out of the fresh air. So those sorts of arbitrary decisions are just ridiculous. And it's those types of things that just don't make sense. That's where I think a lot of us have struggled and have chosen to speak up and say, this doesn't make sense. Let us play volleyball. Let us have that healthy, safe outlet at a time when we really need it.
From what you had to do, and people probably don't know, or if you get a chance, take a look at it. He's not just screaming out on social media. He's actually going and telling people, hey, look, we need to talk to this person, this person, this person. And that's not an easy process because here in the South Bay, when you're dealing with Redondo, Hermosa, and Manhattan Beach and El Segundo as well, each beach is different. Here in Manhattan Beach, we have no control. The city council has no control over the beach. That's an LA County thing. Where in Hermosa, their city council is in control. So tell me a little about how many different people have you had to try to contact?
It's been quite a process. I would just say that. I don't want to bore people with all the details. I will say this, it's been disappointing. I have a lot of personal friends on the local city councils, and these people are I look up to them. They're brilliant. Right. They're talented people. And I just disagreed with them on this set of issues. And while it is true that a lot of the items were out of their hands, in my view, they definitely should have been our biggest advocates going to the county government, going to the state and representing us advocating on our behalf. And I really felt like most of them, there were a couple notable examples, and I don't want to, a couple notable people who stepped out of the line. I don't want to get into naming names and all of that. But I just think when you step back and look at the big picture, most people, including our local city councils at that time, were really just kind of scared, and they were just going to hew that line that the governor and whoever else was.
Pass the buck.
Nobody was. They were very happy to say, we don't have anything to do with it. At a time when.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to jump in.
Go ahead.
On a different side, has anybody said, no, you're crazy, Chris, we're not opening? Or has everyone just kind of backed off and picking a side?
That's not typically what politicians do. I think.
I just want to know, did you get a straight answer?
Well, just so you know, and probably a lot of people have never dealt with politicians like that. But when you do go to them, a typical response, even if they didn't believe in what you were saying, would be something like, I hear you, Brad. We'll do what we can.
That's more annoying than anything else.
This is really out of our hands. And I don't mean to make a joke out of it, in that I know that, especially when we talk about the beach closures, even though Hermosa technically owns their own beach and theoretically could have said, we're going to stay open, it just didn't make sense with county beaches. Being surrounded by county beaches, they had to be on the same line with county beaches. I sure wish they would have gone to the county and said, this is ridiculous, those are our safest spaces, we need to open them up ASAP. And by the way, getting to that point, everybody's down at the beach now. The beaches are open, and that's great. But there's nothing different now. We don't have a vaccine. We don't have any real therapy for the virus. So it's not like it's magically safer today than it was a week ago or a month ago or 2 months ago. It should have been open the whole time. That is my belief. And again, I understand other people will disagree with that. But those are our safest spaces. And from the beginning, I was having those conversations with anyone I could talk to in government. And it was interesting because a couple of them, I don't want to name names, some of them were private conversations, but they were saying things to me like, Chris, I'm really surprised that you're saying something like this. I know you care about people. I know, and I was saying, that's exactly why I'm having this conversation.
It's not for me, it's for everybody's peace of mind.
It is for me too, but it's for everybody, for the community. At the toughest time that we've had in my lifetime, we could have really used that. Just like right now, it's a huge relief for everybody. Every day when I'm on the beach now, everybody's saying, oh, it's so great that we're back on the beach and we feel so much better. And I'm saying, we should have been out here the whole time. So there definitely is an element of that. And the fact that we're still talking about it, it's not like I'm trying to beat people over the head and say, you were wrong, I was right. That's not what it's about. But it is about talking about the facts of the matter and why was it closed. And absolutely, if the government is going to make the huge, unprecedented step of closing public spaces and closing the beach and the ocean, then the onus is on them 100% to prove why they should do that. In this case, they flipped the script. What they did was they just closed everything.
Jump reacted.
And then it was like, you need to prove why it's safe. Which obviously never really happened because they didn't even really fully allow the science to come out. But they just kind of got the gist, and I think the fear came down after a time.
Now, I'm curious, what are the reasons behind them saying there's no volleyball? We're going to allow tennis. Obviously, tennis, pickleball, sports like that are singles-based sports.
I think that, first of all, I don't think anyone has articulated any reasons for any of these rules. What has basically happened is that the state has gone through and just kind of made a list of approved activities, and some people probably saw it got lampooned pretty hard when it came out. It was pretty funny. Like they were saying things like you can climb a tree or watch the sunset. But I think in fairness to those people, again, I understand all of our leaders were put in an incredibly...
They've never been through it before.
Well, and not only that, but it's just an incredibly tough position to be in. And you want to err on the side of safety. And I think we did that, but I think it went too far. As far as why can't we play beach volleyball, I'm sure that the reason at the time that they didn't approve it was that we thought there was a big fear of getting it from shared surfaces. The CDC came out a couple weeks ago and said, oh, our bad, by the way, that's not really a common way that this is transmitted. It's actually from people being in enclosed spaces for a prolonged time. And breathing the same air, that type of thing. If you're outside, if you're in the sunlight, if it's a fleeting encounter, those things all make it safer. So, and the shared surfaces now is one part of that. Again, for me personally, if I'm going out and play volleyball like I did today, I made sure I washed my hands before I played.
Right.
I didn't touch my face one time the entire time I played. As soon as I finished playing, I washed my hands again.
Right.
And I kept my social distance.
Wait. Did you play with a net?
We did.
I thought that's illegal. Did you get anybody looking at you?
No. I think that people kind of understand it's just time, and it's a crazy time. And again, I understand people who feel differently or don't agree or don't want to play. And by all means, like, nobody's going to make you play volleyball. If you don't want to play, don't play.
Right.
But the notion that it's somehow super dangerous for people to play volleyball, when meanwhile we have all these other examples of, these giant protests and people playing tennis or pickleball, or the Lakers practicing, and Shellback and Erks are open.
Right.
Shellback was packed with a line up to Manhattan Avenue, which, by the way, I'm all for it. But I'm just saying, it's so obvious if those things are now legal, that beach volleyball
I think
is way safer.
To what you're doing with beach volleyball, you're just going to start playing again. And I think a lot of people are starting to do that with whatever it is out there that they want to do.
I mean, when you just look at the whole issue, the virus is here, and that sucks. I'm not some nut job that's saying, oh, this is a hoax or it's not dangerous or anything like that. No. We all know what it is at this point. It's dangerous. A lot of people have died. A lot of people have got sick. That's still happening. It's going to be with us for the foreseeable future. So the reality is we just have to learn how to deal with it. And I think something that we can say, but elected leaders don't feel comfortable saying, is that there just is an element of risk that's going to be there in any activity you do until we get to a vaccine, if we ever get to a vaccine. So each individual is going to have to make the decision of how much risk am I willing to go into a crowded nightclub? I mean, personally, for me right now, I don't think I'd feel comfortable doing that. So I'm not going to do that. Does that mean that I think that crowded nightclubs should be banned? No. If people feel like doing that and they're comfortable taking that risk, knock yourself out. I'm not there yet.
So I think one of what people are going to say to that and to you playing volleyball is that, come on, it's a sport. If you're going out and playing, why can't you just wait until everything calms down? Let's say it's a year. Okay, let's just say it's a year before.
That would be the only rational argument. And this is what the conversation I've been having with local leaders about the beach volleyball issue recently is, to me, at this point, there's really only two options. One is just put the nets back up and let people play. The other is we're going to keep it illegal until if we come up with a vaccine. And that seems awfully heavy-handed. I don't think a lot of people would say that that's a rational idea to outlaw beach volleyball until there's a vaccine, or who knows if we maybe don't even ever come up with a vaccine. So, at some point, people need to take responsibility for their actions. I absolutely think that everybody should take as many precautions as they can in every activity, including beach volleyball or surfing or anything else they're doing. But that said, I played beach volleyball today in front of my house for the first time in however many months, and just one of the first times I ran after chasing a ball, and it just kind of went through my head like, damn, this feels good. Like, it just feels normal. It was just kind of like a sea of relief washed over me. And I think there's a disconnect, and I think we saw that play out in the beach closures and banning surfing and banning beach volleyball, where people who aren't really, they might live here, but they're not really what we'd consider beach people. They don't surf all the time. They don't play volleyball all the time. They're maybe not even at the beach all the time. I wouldn't expect them to understand or have the same connection or for it to affect them as much.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of comments.
That's fine.
Of that, which is great. And we definitely want you to comment below if you think he's being insane. We love that. That's why we're bringing people in.
One thing,
so he can tell his side and you can comment back with your side.
One thing that our friend Steve Napolitano, who's a Manhattan Beach City Council member, said during this discussion, they had a pretty heated city council meeting. And he said, it's okay to disagree without being disagreeable. And I love that. I believe that to my core, and I think that's very important. We have to live our lives. None of us are happy that the virus is here, but it is. And so how do we choose to move forward? What decisions do we make?
Right. So going on that, and we'll kind of touch on this and then we'll wrap it up. You obviously know a lot of people who make a living playing volleyball or that play volleyball on a daily basis. Is everybody behind you on this?
I don't know. I just don't want to try to speak for all volleyball players. That's not my place. I think everybody can speak for themselves. But yeah, I know that every day I have a big group of friends that are hitting me up like, what the hell is going on? Why am I allowed to play tennis and pickleball but not beach volleyball? Why are the Lakers practicing and there's 1,500 people on the Pier Plaza at a protest, but we can't space 4 people out on a beach volleyball court? And you know, it's these inconsistencies of logic that are tough. And you know, it's not a perfect world. Everybody's trying to do their best. We understand the leaders have been put in tough spot, but that doesn't mean that we can't do the right thing now.
Very good. Well, I do want to reiterate again, we understand there's a lot more important issues out there than whether or not Chris and his friends can go play volleyball on the beach. We're not trying to say this is as important or more important. It's obviously less important than a lot of stuff going on right now, but we think it's important that we all have a voice. But Chris, first off, I want to thank you for your time. I also want to thank Manhattan Beach Toyota for their continued support of us. That's how these are made possible. And thanks for your time.
Yeah. Before we go, I would just say I would like to thank you. Brad does a tremendous amount for the community. Civic Couch, now Mad Video Lab. There's a lot of projects that are volunteer basis that I'm involved with, the Jimmy Miller Memorial Foundation, the Beach Volleyball Hall of Fame. There are a lot of projects that just pop up, and this guy gets asked for a lot of favors, and he's always there. He's always giving back to the community. So thank you. Thank you for all that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And as a guest, we give each one of our guests that come on to the show our lovely new logoed out t-shirt.
Oh my God.
Hope that's the right size, medium there.
Stoked.
All right, man. Thanks. And thanks you guys for watching. We'll talk to you soon.